All right, folks, that says jump into one of the first big stories today. I want to talk what's happening with the FBI having a database of unvaccinated teachers. This has to do with what they call problem codes. And if you were working a job, if you had a government job, if you're a teacher, you work for any kind of say a department under any kind of local government, they have what are called problem codes, which they need to submit in terms of reports on you. I don't know if everybody does this, but they do, at least in some states, New York City in this case. And this puts you on an FBI database when they do this to you. Let me show you this. This is Teachers of Choice, and I went and verified this. I went and got the full documents on this to make sure it was real. But let me show you what I found. On February 8th, 2023, while arguing on behalf of fired New York City workers who declined COVID vaccination, Attorney John Birch stated in open court that unvaccinated teachers in New York were flagged with problem codes in their personal files. And when that occurred, quote, their fingerprints are sent with that flag to the FBI and the New York Criminal Justice Services. Now, the source of this information is Betsy Combier, who wrote an affidavit. In the Kane versus de Blasio case, where she stated unvaccinated teachers were given a problem code label that was, quote, then sent to national databases of both the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, and the Department of Justice, the DOJ. In federal court on February 8th, attorney Susan Paulson, who defended New York City, stated that educators fired for declining COVID vaccination were not removed for misconduct, but rather for not meeting a requirement for employment. Hear that, folks? We didn't remove you for misconduct. We removed you for not listening to what we were saying. And if you want to do, have your job, there are requirements for employment. Now, that requirement for employment was something they created that nobody probably saw coming, right? Mandatory vaccinations. And when you refuse to get the mandatory vaccination, they remove you for not meeting a requirement for employment. Now, in my opinion, that's a ridiculous argument, arguing that, again, it's a play on words, right? In my opinion, that you're not being fired for, you're not being fired for misconduct, but you would say that not meeting or not carrying out an act of conduct to meet a requirement for employment would be what you call misconduct. The student was not removed from the classroom for misconduct. The student was removed from the classroom for behavior that was not meeting a requirement of attending the class, right? Those of you who were rebellious in school might laugh with me on this, right? Yeah, the child was not misbehaving. The child was not meeting the requirements for staying in the classroom. You see, it's a play on words. This is very clever legalese they're using, in my opinion. But it says here, if there was no misconduct, why are unvaccinated educators' fingerprints being sent to the FBI? Right? If there was no misconduct, then why are they putting people on problem lists? It's going in your permanent record in the truest sense of the phrase here. Let me show you, folks, Exhibit 1. Literally Exhibit 1, at least in this case. This is a court document. Declaration of Betsy Combier. Let me show you the actual court document. And further in, she states this. She's qualifying herself. She says, I am also very familiar with problem codes. The flag, the DOE, that's Department of Education, puts in the personal files of employees to indicate that they should not be hired due to unexplained misconduct of some kind. Again, remember, they're arguing there was no misconduct. We were just removed for not meeting the requirements of employment. But if these organizations are reporting people, that is based on the idea of misconduct and making it so they cannot be hired. She says employees can be flagged for everything from receiving an unsatisfactory or ineffective rating to engaging in egregious criminal acts. During the 3 years I worked at the UFT headquarters, I received countless calls every week asking me if there was a problem code on an employee's personal file, meaning organizations seem to be very concerned about these problem codes and they want to make sure that employees do not have them. Meaning if you get one, it's going to impact your basic quality of life to a very serious degree. When that happened, she said, I would simply ask the person next door to my office, another UFT special representative, whether she could check her computer, and she would tell me yes or no within a minute. Further in, she states, when the DOE, Department of Education, puts a problem code in the employee's personal file, it also places a flag on the employee's fingerprints, which is then sent to the national databases at both the Federal Bureau of Investigations, that's the FBI, and the State Division of Criminal Justice Services. And she said something very concerning after this, where she states this. I know of many former DOE employees, Department of Education, who have problem codes in their personal files because they declined to be vaccinated in violation of the DOE's mandate and were not granted a religious or medical exemption. The DOE places a problem code on the employee's personal file immediately upon getting information that the employee did not submit proof of vaccination. As soon as the employee gets the vaccination and submits proof, the code is removed from his or her file. So if you refused to get vaccinated and you're a Department of Education employee, including a teacher, you may have had a problem code submitted on your permanent record. And that problem code could damage your future ability to get hired or who knows what else. If the FBI has that code, I don't even know what they use it for personally. But they're called problem codes. Something of concern and something I think that needs to be looked deeper into. All right, folks, that says jump over to Epic TV, and I want to go into what's happening with a few other things, including digital IDs. In Canada right now, they're pushing for this, as well as other things like internet censorship. But there's also some interesting stuff, well, it's not just Canada, let's put it that way. And I don't know if I'd call it interesting, but there are Democrats in the United States right now pushing for something else, which is the mandatory microchipping of employees at different companies as a way of tracking you. So it's not just digital IDs, it's something injected under your skin, which would work as a tracking device for things to monitor you in different ways. This is being promoted right now, and I'll go into that. That said, though, folks, let's jump over to Epoch TV first. Those of you on YouTube, join us on Epoch TV. It's our uncensored video platform. Being there also helps the show keep going. You might notice I don't have ads on YouTube. It's because they do not like me. They frequently give me strikes. I don't know why they don't like me. I like them. It's a one-way relationship I have with YouTube, apparently. But join us on Epoch TV where I can speak freely.